Welcome back to Blue Collar Coder. I'm Jack Harrington, and today is another in our Tech a Day series, a series brought to you by you and your suggestions. And today that suggestion comes from Matt Benjamin, who asks, at Jahur, please do a video on Deno land at some point. Love your YouTube channel. All right, yes, I'm excited about Deno. I hope you are too, Matt. So what is Deno? Well, Deno is a JavaScript, TypeScript runtime. And if you're wondering, well, wait, hold up, we've already got Node. Well, I see what you did there. Yes, Deno and Node are very closely related. They're from the same author, and Deno is trying to fix what he perceives as problems in the original Node. And what are those fixes? Well, the first fix is that it's a secure runtime, meaning that you've got to give the Deno runtime permission if you want to allow it to access the file system or the network. The other fix is that there's no more Node package manager, no more Node modules. You just import via URL, and that's how you get your packages in. But you know what? Actually, let's just stop gabbing and jump into the code and take a look for ourselves. Here's the Deno land homepage. So first thing you need to do is install it, which is actually very easy. I did that already with Brew, and it comes in as a single executable, which is really nice. So I'm going to create a directory called Deno and open that up in VS Code and try out their hello world. So the first thing that happens is that Deno downloads the code and then compiles it. And it caches that too. So once something is downloaded, it won't be re-downloaded unless you force it. So the next thing to do is notice that it's a TS file. So this is TypeScript. Now let's go have a look at the code, and that's as easy as just clicking on that link. And there it is, a shipped hello world. So let's try out the next example, which is a bit more robust. It's actually a web server. A couple of things to look at before we fire it up. Again, we can look at the HTTP code in this case just by clicking on that URL. And we can backtrack from the source to the package itself and get the documentation for the HTTP module. We can even look back a little further and see all the STD or standard modules that are out there. And that's, of course, linked to in the docs, as well as the third-party modules, which is in the X section. And there's already a lot of good stuff in there. So let's go back to the code. Pretty easy. We create a server, and then we console out the link. But here's an interesting change, that for await syntax. So promises and async await are natively supported in Deno from the get-go. It's not like in Node where you need to create a wrapper async function and then call that to get the thing started. All right, let's fire it up. And you can see ECMAScript modules loading up, and it fails, but that's because Deno's security restrictions. In this case, we haven't allowed it to access the network, so let's fix that. And now it runs. And you can see back in the console, we didn't re-download any of the modules. That's all cached globally, so we're good to go. So before we go on to the next example, let me tweak this one by using an import map. Let's first find the import map section of the docs, and then we'll copy and paste that into an import map.json. Now we can change the import, and if we try it again, no go, but that's because we haven't actually given it the import map, and now it works just fine. Load the code because in this case, the URL changed slightly, but if we had the original URL in there, it would have just used that cache version. Okay, so let's try out a third-party module. In this case, I'll use Pogo, which is an HTTP server that has a nice routing interface on it. Let's use that to create a Pokemon API project. So I'll paste in that starter code. And then let's copy in some Pokemon data. And as you can see, it has all the Pokemon with some metrics. So let's import the data. And it's as easy as that. Now let's create a lookup table with the Pokemon listed by their English name. And then create a new route, which we will take the name as part of the URL. And then return that data. And now we'll fire it up. And it downloads all of Pogo and all of its dependencies. Looks like it's good to go, so let's bring it up in the browser and tweak the URL a little. And there you go, all the data for Carmelian. Now if I shut this down, that page no longer loads as you'd expect. So what I really want to show off is the bundler functionality here. So let's go look at the docs real quick. We'll output a single JavaScript file which includes all dependencies. Sounds like a plan. Let's bundle up the server.js as index.js and then run the Deno-based file server on this directory. And now we can see all the files in this directory, including index.js. And if we look into it, it's got all the Pogo stuff, as well as the Pokemon data and our server. So it's everything we need to run that server in one file. So now let's open up a new terminal and try to run that. And it fails, but that's because we haven't given it the permission to access the network. So let's add that. And now we once again have our server running on port 3000 as before. Now, assuming I just pushed that index.js to somewhere as part of a build process, I could then run that server from anywhere and just point it at where I put index.js, as long as that server had Deno on it. All right, thank you, Matt, for the question and also getting me to jump into Deno. I'm excited about it. I hope you are too. So let's go over a few of the key points before I take off. The first is that Deno is a secure runtime. You have to give it permission to allow it to access the network or the file system. It does everything via ECMAScript imports. Via URL, there's no more node modules. So if you get, like me, you've got node modules all over your drive. Yeah, that's a big win. I would try it out before you freak out and you're like, no way, there's not. Try it out. I think you're gonna like it, actually. Bundling, that one was a big one to me. I think the idea that you can go and take an app and then bundle it into one file and then put that out on a static hosting site. It's kind of reminiscent of a Docker for JavaScript, and I'm really excited about that. Another key point on Deno, JavaScript and TypeScript baked right in, so that's great. And then finally, something that I touched on, but is really important, is that the standard library and everything else is all promise-based. So no more callbacks straight out of the box, so that's great stuff. All right, well, if you like this video, please hit that like button. If you are like these videos in general, I encourage you to hit that subscribe button, click on that bell, and you'll get notified that when any new videos come out. Your comments, questions, and suggestions are always appreciated down below. As you can see, Matt got his video. You can get yours. Just tell me what you want to learn about. Okay. And in the meantime, be happy, be healthy, and be safe.